Good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. It is actually 5:45 a.m. here in Oxnard. My body still says it's 8:45 because good old jet lag, and I'm not mad about that. So instead of wasting time, I decided to get up and let's go ahead and get this party started this morning. We have practice, not a game, not a game. We have practice in 5 hours. Unlike yesterday's mock walkthrough, today will be a full padded practice and probably will be turned up a notch and probably will end up being the big practice to end the week. On tomorrow will be a recovery day as the team starts to get into their normal mode, so to speak, because next week we'll start the games. And then Saturday will be another practice that'll probably pad it, and then Sunday will be a walkthrough, and I think Monday they end up breaking and going down to San Diego before they come back. So that's what we're looking at for this week. Yesterday, unfortunately, some people were definitely disappointed because practice ended up being um, a mock scrimmage. I'd never heard of a mock scrimmage before because either you're scrimmaging or you're not. It was basically a walkthrough that lasted less than an hour, started an hour earlier, and a lot of fans were actually there to really see them practice. And for me, it's okay because I'm only 15 minutes from the ball fields. For others who drove hours to get here, not realizing that it wasn't going to be a full practice, they were a little upset. What we will be doing again today, it's become kind of a daily thing with my man Law Nation, nothing but the best. We've been live streaming from the Red Robin. We had about 12 or so of you great fans that came through and were part of the crowd. And we'll be doing that again today. That's right, we'll be doing it again today, which I can't wait to go ahead and do. It's kind of great to go through, recap it, spend some time with Law Nation and things. So, let's go to the elephant in the room. Anthony Barr and how he may be used. My thoughts are this is Dan Quinn is the mad scientist. Dan Quinn loves pressure. Dan Quinn likes to get after the quarterback. One of the things, and this may be part of the reason why, one of the things I kept seeing from Dan Quinn's defense earlier part of the week was everything was about getting upfield to the quarterback. It didn't matter if you were a defensive lineman. It didn't matter if you were a linebacker. It didn't matter if you were a defensive end. This defense is going to be a lot of 3-4 defense, I believe, because of the way they're practicing. And what we're looking at is the defensive ends become outside linebackers, okay? That means they're coming up from a 2-point stance. Think of Charles Haley. Think of DeMarcus Ware. They didn't have their hand in the dirt like you see D-Law most of the time. Watching practice, we saw Dante Fowler, we saw Goldston, we saw Sam Williams standing up and doing their moves against the blocking dummies and things. Even in the practice where it's 11 on 11, we're seeing a lot of 3-4 defense, where we're seeing defensive ends standing up as outside linebackers going after the quarterback. But what I really believe this move is, and again, the good thing about doing that before we got Anthony Barr is you're basically having two regular linebackers, strong side and a weak side linebacker, and then you have basically your defensive ends. You have 3 defensive linemen in there, and typically they are bigger than your 4-3 defensive linemen. And that's where you've got your Quentin Bohannons and your John Ridgeway. You have, wave after wave. That's where you have your Tristan Hill. That's where you have your Neville Gallimore. That's where you have your Carlos Watkins. That's where you have your Osa. So they basically have 2 fronts that they can put in there and bring at you with fresh legs. And all of this is predicated on getting speed upfield. This means that you're going to see the linebackers, that strong side and weak side linebackers, having to cover receivers and tight ends. It means that your cornerbacks are going to be a lot more in man-to-man coverage because your guys have to get to the quarterback. They got to get there right now. Now, Anthony Barr, interestingly enough, is a guy who can cover, but he can also pass rush. So having those two traits is perfect fit for Dan Quinn, and at the price that they got, $2 million, it's a steal. I will say that when the news broke, and shout out to Law Nation because we were doing a live stream, and we actually with the Dan Quinn, we started the live stream. Actually, I was playing some of the Dan Quinn um, news conference, and listening to Dan Quinn through there for a bit. At that time, they were in the process of actually signing Anthony Barr. Now, Anthony Barr, of course, has relationships with George Edwards, who was in Minnesota for 6 years that he was there, the four-time Pro Bowler. Um, Knew George Edwards, so there was a relationship there. One other tad bit I'll put in here is I believe that the Washington Commanders would have definitely been calling him up had the Cowboys not signed him yesterday because they lost. Um, oh man, one of their linebackers, last name White, can't think. Is it Cole White? I can't think of his first name right now, but they lost one of their linebackers Tuesday in practice to an ACL. They are now looking for a linebacker. So not only did we get him, we also prevented our competition from getting him. So that's kind of a bonus. And at $2 million, there's not a lot of risk here in this move, and definitely a lot of reward. This may end up being your J-Ron curse here of last year. Again, they both played for Minnesota. Forget about Emerson Griffin. They both played for Minnesota. But what this actually does is this. This is going to allow the Cowboys to use Micah Parsons more as that wild card, that guy that can rush the quarterback from so many different areas. Don't be surprised to see him all across the defensive line in all kinds of different situations. And if you are not excited about defense, I don't know how to tell you, but this defense, I'm not going to say it's going to be the best defense in football, but I tell you one thing, you better have on your track shoes when you face them because everybody on that defense for their position is fast. Micah Parsons is fast. We saw Micah Parsons running down Tony Pollard from 20 yards behind. Sam Williams, that 4.46 guy. Even Neville Gallimore and Tristan Hill are fast for their size. Osa with the hands is incredible. And again, another speed guy. Now, I enjoyed so much watching the defensive line and things working. In fact, I'll put a couple of clips of the defensive line showing you some of the handwork and drills and things that they were doing in there. But we have the mad scientist, Dan Quinn. And for some reason, I just feel like the Cowboys trust Dan Quinn. Everybody says that if Mike McCarthy doesn't work out, he's on the hot seat. And we recognize everybody is always on the hot seat in Dallas. It doesn't matter who you are or how much you get paid. You're always on the hot seat. Jalen Smith didn't expect to be released in the middle of the season. Amari Cooper, I'm sure, with the guaranteed contract, didn't expect to be traded. Des Bryant thought he was coming back. Jason Garrett thought he had a lifetime commitment. Everybody is always on the hot seat in Dallas. But Dan Quinn, I don't think it's Sean Payton. It's Dan Quinn. Right now, I don't know that the Cowboys have trusted and let him alone to do what he wants to do, like Dan Quinn, since Jimmy Johnson. He's got full autonomy. If Jerry Jones is pulling the strings on him, I don't see how it's possible. Because just take a look at the Cowboys have always looked at defensive linemen as an afterthought. Like I always, my analogy is always, it's like when you're married, you got to take out the trash. You don't want to, but you have to keep peace. Well, that's how it is that the Cowboys have been about defensive linemen, especially a one technique guy. The fact that they actually took some draft capital, not number one picks, but went for Quentin Bohannon as well as John Ridgeway, is the influence of Dan Quinn. When you look at the length of the guys that they want for cornerbacks and things and linebackers, and Anthony Barr is one of those tall guys. It's Dan Quinn's, idea here. When you talk about actually getting legitimate defensive tackles, we would end up saying, oh, well, we can take a defensive end and make him a tackle. Well, yeah, you can, but it's not the same thing as actually getting a guy who is a true tackle. And the Cowboys have invested so much capital, as well as now free agents on the defensive side. It's all Dan Quinn's type guys. In the past, you feel like the Cowboys, yeah, you're hired as coach, but we're going to be buying the groceries and telling you what we want for it. You hear Jerry Jones talking about, Zeke's going to be the focal point and this, that, and the other, and you believe that Zeke is going to be the focal point. You don't hear Jerry Jones saying anything about dictating the defense because they know Dan Quinn has got it covered. And so if the season ends up being that Mike McCarthy is gone, it's Dan Quinn. It's Dan Quinn. Why would you go for Sean Payton, and have to give up a couple number ones? Couple number ones. When you have a guy right now who took your defense from shit to really good, and if he ends up running this defense like I think it's going to run, watch out. It's going to be nasty. Let's listen into a little bit of the press conference of Dan Quinn. I love Dan Quinn, okay? I got a man crush on Dan Quinn because him and I, we both played nose guard. Yeah, we're about the same age. Both undersized guys playing that role. We understand what it's like, the war in the trenches, and understand that if you can control that middle of the field, that center line, you make it difficult for them to do anything, to run, pass, whatever. Everything starts right there on the defensive line.
Everybody loves a shout out, Tad. Everybody.
Everybody loves a shout out.
All right, man. It's very cool to see everybody. I absolutely love this time of year. There's a connectedness that goes on. We're together, the straining, the learning, new people to it. There was somebody who'd asked me earlier, what do you think about an encore? I said, encores happens after the show. This is a new tour, new show, new group, we ride together. So there's some familiar faces, but obviously we added a lot too. So it's not rinse and repeat where we're starting right back. The standard should be different, but there's also it is new, and there's a freshness that comes with that. With a new season and ready to rock together. So glad to open it up and get the whole day going.
And David Moore, Dallas Morning News. We talked to you a lot last year about the changes you made in your defensive scheme. Do you see that as kind of reinventing who you were, or was it just a logical evolution and progression with where the game is going?
Yeah, I think it's, David, probably the second. Because I thought some changes from a scheme standpoint that needed to be changed and addressed. And maybe the one way I would describe it is some things are good, but it's not, a scheme that would last forever or in every space. So that's really where it adjusted more to how the game is adjusting. And so think of it as a natural progression of things you have to do. And there'll be new concepts that come up, this year that we'll have to adjust to as well. And so the more space, the more wide open it feels like the game is going, flooding a zone, putting a lot of people to one side. You better be rock solid with some of your principles, how you can change some looks for an offense. So I think it's, I know it's a function of the scheme and just needed to adapt.
Todd Archer from ESPN. Do you have this offseason, do you almost kind of try to anticipate what other teams are going to do against you after seeing you for a full season?
Absolutely, Todd. And the reason being is not just for us, I'd say, but what are some of the trends that happened around the league? And as we all know, there can be some, the better a team plays, the more they're studied. So usually teams that are, participating in the Super Bowl, as you go into an off season, they're almost at the top of the list. Okay, let's see what they did on defense or on special teams or on offense. And it kind of trickles down, which makes sense. The team who had good success was there some part of their package that they're doing where we may look at it on the other side to say, what are some trends that could be happening if you're watching that team? We may not even play that team, but it's worthwhile to say they're being studied. There could be a new concept that we need to go through. And so that, it kind of goes twofold. One, is there anything you'd like to add to your package? But two, we didn't see this, how would we play it? So it is a big part of it and how you want to study and adapt. And who's doing well, that's kind of where you start.
Clarence Hill, Football Star Telegram. Jerry Jones the other day intimated that he took care of you financially to get you to come back. Just talk about the value that they feel that you have to this organization and what that means.
Clarence, I think the first rule of Fight Club is you never talk about Fight Club.
See, that's why you love Dan Quinn.
You know, like, unless my Jersey roots have changed, you know, we don't talk about contracts. And but honestly, I'm having a blast here. I really am, and I'm enjoying the whole process, of what we're doing. And I just want to provide value, to Mike first, and to the defense. And so every once in a while you find where your feet are and you're in a good space and you feel it. And that's really how I felt here. And but I'm going to refer to Fight Club.
Fight Club.
Follow just the relationship with Mike. How has that changed? And with all this junk in the offseason, can you just talk about that?
Yeah, I definitely can. I think I'm glad actually, Clarence, that you brought it up because
he knew they were signing Anthony Barr at this press conference.
You control what you can control, even that can be hard, let alone the things you can't control. And so I know in that seat I had somebody that would help look around corners for me in Atlanta. That was a guy named Raheem Morris, who, hey, Dan, think about this. And that is one of the nice parts for me, that I get to look around some of those corners for Mike to point out some things. Hey, this might be coming down the road. Let's look at this. So I just wanted, in no uncertain terms, make sure I'm looking around the corners. I ain't coming around the corner. And so I love my relationship with Mike. I enjoy working with him. And I respectfully know that outside the building, that's been a discussion, but it's never one inside. So respectfully, this will, kind of be our last question on that topic. I'm absolutely having a blast with him. It's part of the reason that I came to Dallas in the first place. But that's what I wanted to follow. I'm glad you brought that up.
Dan, Tim Kalish on Dallas Morning News. On takeaways, your last couple teams in Atlanta when you were head coach were pretty average in takeaways. You come here, they've been great, including first last year. Have you rediscovered something? How do you view the whole secret to being near the top of the takeaways?
Well, good ball skills help. I can tell you that from the interception standpoint. One of the things, and I know you guys see it going out to practice, but I was coming here and I've shared it with a lot of coaches to say, the time and energy that Mike spends on ball skills, pre-practice, post, if you're going to get good at it, you better have a bunch of different ways to go catch it, high, low, catching the flash of the ball, the tips. So I would say the emphasis has always been there for me, film work, going through it, but the application on the practice field, I think, has been stronger here. So one of the goals I'd have for our team this year is, can we force and recover more fumbles? And so that's been one of the points of emphasis as we're heading into this camp. It was that through the off season. So if we can add that part, to the interception side of things, I think we'll be right back there where we want to, in terms of an attitude for the ball.
Talk about how opponents will adjust to you. How will you get Micah in the same fashion? How will they attack him?
Right, that's a good question, because he does spend time in different rooms and different spots to go from D-line, linebacker some. I'm sure you probably heard he's working with the running backs with Skip Pete some. Wide receivers, kicking. So
we need him. I'll take him at kicker right now.
It is. When you come into something and you're first new, they don't really know who you are. That happens a lot at wide receiver, doesn't it? Where, okay, after a while, this guy needs a double team, and this guy's. So one of the, kind of give you the good, bad, when you have an excellent player and you line them up in one position, they can still make a huge impact. You see that with defensive ends all throughout time. Do they chip them? Do they find a way to go? What's unique about Mike, I believe, is the way we can align him in different spots where he's counted as a down guy and as an off the guy. And so I think that's important to say, where's the alignment and how we would deploy him from there, because certainly they value, his rush ability and his speed, but we want to make sure we're not just putting him into one spot. And that's kind of part of the uniqueness of him, and we'll try to feature that as often as we can.
And this is where Anthony Barr comes in, because Anthony Barr, you can put him at the linebacker role and know it with the experience, provided he stays healthy, will enable you to be able to move Micah Parsons all over the place. He will be the joker, the wild card, the guy who you got to account for it and say, where's it coming from? And back to the fumbles, again, watching the practices and seeing them, they literally had one defensive front where they had one down lineman and they had four guys standing up, four rushers standing up. And if you're an offensive lineman, you come out there and you just see one down lineman and everybody standing up, you're kind of hesitating for a moment there to wonder, what is that that's coming at me? And that little bit of a hesitation is all you need to be the difference of, having your quarterback sacked or takeaway and things like that. I'm excited about these guys. I love it. So that's what I got this morning. 5 hours from now, we'll be watching practice. We'll be trying to get you as much content as possible and all the updates. And hopefully, we'll see Anthony Barr. I'm Mark Holmes, and I appreciate you.